What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my video. Today I wanted to discuss what makes a character scary, and I want to build a character with you as an example. And maybe by scary I mean more creepy, I mean more unsettling. If you want to do something subtle as opposed to like just outright dark, gritty, bloody red. If you want to do the things that just make things ever so slightly frightening. So to start this off, I started looking at kids. I looked at things that kids are afraid of because kids haven't been affected by things that are in media. They haven't been affected by things that are happening right now. They're just sort of afraid of things because they're wrong. And I'm going to explain that. So think of things that kids are afraid of. Kids are afraid of mascots. Kids are afraid of mannequins. Kids are afraid of balloons. Why are they afraid of these things? Well, if you think about it, a mascot is a birdie. It's a puppy. It's something. But it's human-sized? It's not supposed to be that big. So, kids are afraid of it. Mannequins. It looks like mom. It looks like dad. But the skin is wrong. It's plastic. It's not moving at all. Balloons. Things fall. Things are supposed to fall. Balloons don't. And there's an unsettling stillness to them. So you can imagine, maybe after I've explained it, why kids would be afraid of these things. There's a sense of wrong and stuff. And if something is wrong, it's generally something that's going to trigger our fight or flight, and it's going to cause us to be afraid or to be unsettled at the very least. So a good guide for adding wrong to a character is the Uncanny Valley. If you haven't heard of the Uncanny Valley, it was invented in the 70s by a Japanese roboticist named Matahiro Mori. Now this guy, he was making robots and he was showing them to people, because you show things to your friends. You show them like, hey, look at this cool thing I did. And he found that as he added more human features, people liked him more. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's more like people. You can talk to people. And then he added skin and eyes and teeth. And people did not like this one. And he's like, huh, why? And so he kind of figured out the reason that people don't like things that are not quite human, but things that are sort of human, is that if it's something that's clearly trying to present itself as human, but is just ever so slightly off, we can only see the things that are off, and it makes it frightening. So let me break down some examples. So I've put a little graph on the screen if you want to look at it. In the A section, we have a flashlight. Flashlight is totally innocuous, it's just an object. In section B, we have cars. People tend to anthropomorphize their cars, they tend to treat them like pets. The two headlights look like eyes, the grille looks like a mouth, the four wheels can be like legs. You get that. I hope you get that. C, at the peak of that hill, there's Wall-E. Now everybody loves Wall-E. Wall-E has cute little eyes and cute little hands, but he's still just a box and a robot. And people love him. In the pit of D, we have Sophia the AI. I want to be clear, I love Sophia from the bottom of my heart. I think she's incredible. But people are unsettled by her because she's just ever so slightly less than human. She doesn't present that way quite yet. She's not fluent. She's not smooth like humans are. And she's still getting a grasp of social concepts. And that's not her fault. She's still learning. She's an AI. It's not her fault. I think she's incredible, but she just isn't human, and we can tell. And then at E, when you go straight up to the top of the next peak, you get something that's nigh indistinguishable from humans, like Christopher Walken. So, how can we use this Uncanny Valley to make characters? Let's look at a character, and we will dissect him for a bit. So I'm just going to warn you that I'm going to put a picture up of the smile dog. So if you are super creeped out, I'm going to give you a countdown and then I'm going to put it up. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the smile dog is an image, a creepypasta, that has been circulated around that is unsettling to people. And sometimes genuinely terrifying to some people. It depends on what you're used to. So now, if you look at the individual parts of the image, It's not scary stuff. If you take out the graininess, it is a dog, it is a human smile, and it is a handprint. We love dogs. Dogs are great. I love my dog. That dog, if you took the teeth out, he would be super friendly. You look at him, he's smiling. People smile at us all the time. We like to smile, we like to laugh, we like smiles with teeth because it means someone's super happy. And there's a handprint. It just means that something got messy and someone put their hand somewhere. These three completely innocuous things combined and put a grainy filter on them, and it is something genuinely horrifying.
You may look now. The dog is gone.
3 things is a good general rule for the number of creepy things that you can put together to make something horrifying. Think about Slender Man. He is just a guy in a suit, but he has no face, he lives in the woods, and he's unnaturally tall. So, because of these 3 things added up, we're terrified of him. Because people in suits should not be in the woods, should not be super tall, and should not have a face. If you notice, some of these things are kind of silly. Some of these things are kind of absurd, things that you can combine. And that's a great place to start. So don't think that it's silly, but when you first start, you might want to mess with it a little bit. ModMad made this great post about how comedy and humor are kind of the same thing. It is absurdity, and the only thing different between the two of them is how you present it. It's how people react to it. So if you were to present Cat Dog hyper realistically, he would be terrifying. They would be they would be terrifying. If you saw that on the street, you would be terrified. So the 3 innocuous things that I put together to make a creepy sort of story, a creepy sort of character. Let's see if you can guess what they are. Let's get started. You live in a nice neighborhood. You've lived here for a while, and your neighbor across the street is a super nice lady. You see her every day when you walk her dog, because she is getting her groceries out of the car. So, in the past couple months, you've noticed that she's been a little lighter. You don't know very much about her, but you know that she's been happier. She complains about her husband a little less. She's just a little lighter. She talks about how her crafting is going. And you also notice that with her groceries, she's bringing in a lot more buckets of paint. You kind of shrug and think that, oh, the housework is keeping her occupied. It's giving her something to do. It's making her happy. So one day, you get invited into her house. She asks if you want to come in for lunch. The kids are out at school. It's all fine. It'll just be you two. So you go in, you do. You sit down in the living room while she goes into the kitchen. And in the living room, you see where she's been painting. You see the mat you see a mat on the ground, you see paint buckets, and you kind of think about it. You kind of look at it a little bit. The wall is all one entire color, but the paint is only new in one spot. You look at the mountain of paint cans, and I do mean a mountain of paint cans. There are so many paint cans, and you think, they're all the same color. Why would you be painting the same color over and over again? Does it just get messy? So you kind of go up to the wall and you examine it a little bit. So you get up and you go to the wall, and as you go to the wall, you start to smell something other than wet paint. You smell something sort of sour, and you can't tell what the smell is. So you kind of investigate the wall, and you realize that where the wet paint is, where that one section of wet paint is, it's almost domed over. It's almost like they've been painting and painting and painting in that one spot nonstop and nowhere else. And you're kind of like, what is up? But then the wife comes in and she has tea, and you kind of forget about it for a second. You talk for a while, you chit-chat, you swirl your tea, and eventually you're like, okay, so what's with the wall? And she's like, what wall? And you're like, oh, just the wall. You've been painting it. And she's like, oh yeah, it's just a project that I've been working on. And you're like, must be one heck of a project. What have you put, 70 coats on it? And she falters, her smile kind of fades, and she looks kind of terse. And you immediately regret asking about it. So she says, I think the casserole's burning. I'm gonna go get that. She stands up and she walks out of the room, and you wonder how she can smell casserole over the wet paint and other smell. And because of her kind of weird acting, because of the way she responded to it, you decide to get up and you decide to go over and check the wall again. And you kind of think about the smell. You kind of think about the smell that's kind of mixed in, and it's like, it's rot. You decide that it's something rotting, but not like mold, more like rot. So you kind of tap on the wall, despite the wet paint, and it's hollow where the wet paint is. And so you kind of wonder, you step over to where the paint is dry, and you tap again, and there it isn't hollow. And you keep checking, and sure enough, everywhere the paint is wet, the wall is hollow. Suddenly, you are pulled from your little investigation by an angry shriek. What are you doing? You turn around and you see the housewife, your friend, and she is absolutely livid. Her eyes are bulging from her head, her face is contorted, and when you look down, you see a knife in her hand. She runs charging at you, and she stabs the knife into the wall as you dodge out of the way just in time and fall to the floor. From where you are, you look back up and you see that she is stabbing the wall. She is repeatedly, with so much anger, just stabbing the knife into the wall. And she's shouting. She's yelling. Why couldn't you just shut up? Why couldn't you just be quiet? You need to be quiet. You need to be quiet or they'll find out. You need to be quiet. Shut up. Shut up. So she's stabbing the wall and she's yelling this, and you're noticing as the wall splinters, you don't think walls are supposed to splinter, but there's a hole. And you look in and you see 2 empty eye sockets. And you sort of realize that she's been complaining about her husband less. That his car has been covered in leaves for weeks. That you haven't seen him, and you are looking at an emaciated corpse in her wall. She stops her rampage, and she turns to you very slowly, and she points the knife, and she says, "But you will be quiet, won't you?" And scene. What were the things that happened before the knife came that made you unsettled? Can't guess? Here they are. It was paint, a homely wife, and a smell. So, these 3 things all combined to make something that was frightening. Like people always say, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. So it's a good way to tell if something is wrong. So I really hope this helped. If you ever wanted to make something scary, if you ever wanted to write a creepypasta, if you ever wanted to make something genuinely like just unsettling, I really want to know what you guys create. Please leave a comment, show me what you make. Please leave them. I want to see them. I want to see what you make. Leave a like if this video helped you. Share with your friends. Just share the love. Share the spooks with everybody. Share how to make the spooks so that the world can just be a spookier place. We gotta love the spooky place that we live on. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one.